what we eat. Any culture has singular products which physically feed it, a culture which exhibits itself during the festive seasons. Products which the earth gives us, and the human being combines them so that the food is not just an act of survival, but also a pleasure. Natural products which are transformed thanks to the hand of the artisan and which are passed from parents to children. Thanks to those hands, we conserve a culture that is eaten, a culture which also makes us different and equal. Apiculturist. From the Latin apis, which means abeja in Spanish, bee. From the Latin colere, which means cultivar in Spanish, cultivate. This is not an astronaut, although he looked like one. This is an apiculturist. And this is a human being who knows the most about a fascinating world, the world of bees. The apiculturist takes care of the animals who give one of the most appreciated foods of our civilization, honey. Bees have created a vitamin and succulent substance. For hundreds of years, the master apiculturists have taken care of moving the insects in order to achieve a honey of different flavors, densities, and aromas. The flower's pollen gives the particular characteristics of a sacred liquid. Bees have worked very much in order to create a substance in which some civilization in former times buried their dead. The beehives have been in the countryside all year round. Periodically, each one of them gives its fruit. For this reason, the apiculturist makes the bees change beehives. Now, the honeycombs are inhabited, but full of wax and honey which the insects have produced. The apiculturist resembles an artist who discovers a masterpiece hidden in the thousands of cells which contain the honey. Each honeycomb is deposited inside an extractor. The spinning causes the honey to stick to the walls of the machine. The time has come for the golden liquid to come out and start to fill enormous containers in which it will be kept in perfect conditions. Through different phases, the honey will be cleansed in order to remove any impurities and will reach the consumer with all its properties. Butcher, pork butcher. From the Latin caro, which means carne in Spanish, meat. From the French chaud, caliente in Spanish, hot. Croûte, costra in Spanish, crust, to heat raw meat. It is probably our most complete animal. We make the most of it all, including its tail. The pig, one of the first animals that the human being achieved to control. Nowadays, we continue to make the most of the whole pig. And in many villages, once a year, the slaughter takes place, which is all a ritual. In the old days, it was all a religious declaration, until it slowly became more of a symbol of abundance. The slaughter meant having meat for most of the year. Now, the process is more hygienic and is done daily. Gradually, the animal will provide parts which will then be converted into meat and stuffing. One of its best-known parts is ham. But one of the processes which is possibly the most interesting is the stuffing, specifically the stuffing of spicy sausages. The spicy sausage meat comes from the upper part of the animal's back, duly minced and seasoned with salt, pepper and cinnamon. Then it is kneaded and placed into the stuffing machine. The intestine will be filled with the meat, which is transformed into spicy sausages full of proteins and energy. The liver, dividing one by one each sausage, is the last part of the process. The pork butcher is the master who works the meat and cooks it. He is the artisan who makes ham, mortadella. The master butchers and master pork butchers are an important part of our daily life. They are the suppliers of a great part of the proteins in our societies. Confectioner. From the Latin confectus, compuesto in Spanish, composed, prepared, produced. From the French confiture, jam. The profession of confectioners is one of the oldest in Europe. Curiously, in the Middle Age, wax candles were sold together with sugar-coated fruits. Probably because honey was inseparably associated with the other substance which bees provide, wax. For this reason, that association was known as the Gremi des confiters y serrers. The profession of confectioners and wax workers. The jam basically entailed mixing vegetables and dried fruits with sugar, which in former times was obtained from honey and sugar cane. In the same way, the pumpkin or sweet potato paste was mixed with sugar and gave firm substances which brought satisfactions to whomever ate them. One of the most surprising recipes that the master confectioners still make is the arnadi, an Islamic sweet which continues to exist, above all in the region of Costera. We have baked a pumpkin and we have converted it into a very attractive paste. The master for confectioners will add pine nuts, raisins and minuscule fragments of crystallized fruit which turn into precious stones in the hands of the professionals. Powdered almond agglutinates the arnadi even more. The result was compressed and has been converted into an amalgam which is tasty and full of energy. We will now put the sweet in a pot and we will add almonds, pine nuts and sugar over it. The oven is awaiting one of the wonderful gourmets that the Valencian people can offer the world, the arnadi. In some ways, the master confectioners transform themselves into plastic artists when they slowly convert the marzipan into sweet shapes which help to live with a smile and mark the most important days of our festive season. ice cream maker. From the Latin gelare, helado in Spanish, ice cream in cold state. Only 1 century ago, eating an ice cream was a magical experience which happened very few times during the year. The reason was very simple. It was very difficult to maintain ice. For this reason, the refrigerators in the mountains conserved that treasure in a natural way during many months. In many villages, when they had ice, an instrument very curious indeed worked well, the ice box. It was a cylindrical object made of cork and metal. On the outside, it was made of wood, and on the inside, of metal. Between the two materials, a chamber was formed in which the pieces of ice were placed. In order to make a good ice cream, firstly, it was necessary to heat milk in a container. Once heated, the primordial liquid received the ingredients which would give flavor to the ice cream. First of all, sugar was poured. Then, we could add any substance that we had previously prepared. Eggs, cinnamon, cut fruits, powdered dry fruits, chocolate. Nowadays, the principle is the same, but the technique has very much helped the process. When the mixture was put into the ice box, the artisan did not stop stirring for more than 20 minutes until the coldness of the ice impregnated the inside emulsion. Slowly, that substance took a sufficient consistency. For everyone, the ice cream makers of Shishona sold the product of that costly process. It was made and sold almost at the same time, a fresh food full of energy and healthy, the ice cream. Now, the arm of the human being is substituted for a mechanical arm, but the process is the same, putting products of the highest quality for the result to always be outstanding. Horchata maker, from the Latin ordium, a cereal which is turned into the Valencian ordi, barley, orzo in Italian, cebada in Spanish, or possibly from the Latin ordeata, which is the ordium beverage. Horchata is a cold beverage made from tiger nuts, sugar, cinnamon and lemon. From water, life was born. With this murmur, one of the most fascinating symphonies of our gastronomic culture started. The process to obtain one of the most refreshing and surprising drinks in the world, the horchata, barley water. The tiger nuts were obtained in the field, in the proximities of Alboraya, a place where sediments and water give a special flavor to anything that grows. Firstly, the tiger nuts were left to dry. In bags of 25 kilos, the process starts when we soak them. The objective is to hydrate them so that they can then give their best substance. From now on, the tiger nuts will dance together in rhythm. They now move to a second phase. The master horchata maker will grind them with water and will add the magic ingredients, cinnamon and lemon. The symphony now changes rhythm. The tiger nut is transformed into liquid. Each tiger nut dissolves and is combined with lemon and cinnamon. The liquid of life, which in the Middle Age was considered to be medicinal, begins to take shape. The pulp separates from the liquid. Through absorption, we will finish to separate all impurities. The orchestra director, the master horchata maker, maintains at all times the rhythm of the symphony. Now, The horchata will receive the substance that will sweeten it even more, sugar. Like a good wine, at the end of the process, the horchata must be tasted. The master horchata maker will check that the work has come out with the perfect flavor and texture. Alboraya has spread a white layer throughout the world. From the tiger nuts, sponge cakes, pastries and sweets can now be made. Even important figures have come from far away to sample one of the most succulent liquids that the fertile region of Valencia has created, the white gold, the horchata. Baker. From the Latin panem, pan in Spanish, bread. From the Latin fornus, construction shaped like a vault or an arch. In former times, different materials like glass, ceramic, foods were cooked inside it. We go back to the origins. Hands and flour, spelt flour, the first cereal that the human being used as food. We are recreating an action which is 10,000 years old. It is one of the factors that caused the Neolithic revolution and that has made us the way we are. We are witnessing the handling of flour and its most characteristic product, bread. The ingredients are few, but together they make par excellence the food of the Western civilization. Flour, water, yeast and salt. The hands start to move and form a compact dough. This is the food that has kept us Westerners alive for thousands of years. Its importance has caused revolutions, wars and social conflicts. In order to obtain bread, the master bakers carry out an ancient ritual which has now partly become mechanical, but which maintains the same spirit. Once we have finished making the dough, we give it shape. The dough is now placed on the board where it will slowly ferment in a dark place. 100 years ago, at room temperatures. Nowadays, with the current technology, we know that the suitable temperature is 28 degrees. Once the bread has fermented, we put it in the oven. At 215 degrees, in 30 minutes, the bread will become that food which is present in all homes. The hands are irreplaceable and every hand is unique, like every bread. Loaves of bread in thousands of shapes, textures and flavors, which will always have one thing in common, a master baker who puts much more than profession into each work. Pâtissier. From the Latin pastare, pastar in Spanish, to graze, to knead. The master pâtissier works with different colors, substances and textures. The sweet flavors awake, all the way from prehistory, pleasant feelings amongst the humans. In his shop, the master has been preparing recipes for many years. Like an alchemist, every one of them has his rituals and his favorite recipes. Secret combinations that only he knows. Our own master pâtissier proposes an old recipe. Together we will make coques escudellades. We start one of the most spectacular sweets of our catalogue by breaking eggs into a bowl. We will now add the milk, the oil and and the sugar. We whisk it all again. The lemon and the cinnamon draw impossible shapes on the surface of our recipe. The paste changes color as the master pâtissier stirs the preparation. And now comes the heavy artillery, the ground almonds, the raisins, and the walnuts. With the flour, we will make the dough. We place it on the oblate. We sprinkle it with sugar and to the oven. Turrón maker, from the Latin torrere, tostar in Spanish, to toast, or turrir, torre in Spanish, tower. Turrón is a sweet traditionally made with almonds and honey. It is a type of nougat. Our journey begins hand in hand with a tiny star, the almond. Almonds picked from our almond trees, which are transformed into one of the most extraordinary sweets in the Western world, the turrón or nougat. At present, the human factor continues to be essential, but technology helps the tradition. Our story begins next to a big chrysalis full of almonds. From that big udder, our stars will be distributed to different ovens in order to toast them. The almond is now ready for its journey. On the one hand, it will be mixed with honey and egg white. This will be the beginning of an extraordinary turrón, the turrón of Alicante. A mechanical cauldron will mix the almonds until they will reach the suitable consistency. Now the paste will be divided and the wafer will be incorporated into it. It is now cut and the shape for which it is known appears. The turrón of Alicante is now ready to be packaged and distributed throughout the world. The story of the turrón of Xixona is parallel but softer. It starts with a cold layer of honey to which we add almond and pour into a stone grinder. The paste that results from the mixture in the stone grinder is left to rest for 1 day in the silos. The quality control is at its highest at all time. Then it will go through the boichettes, stirring clubs. For 3 hours, it won't stop being stirred up and down. The paste is now uniform and has a characteristic color. The paste will rest for 24 hours in order to reach a maximum consistency, and it will be converted into the turrón of Xixona. There are many types of turrones made using different procedures throughout the Valencian community. But the human hand and fire will always mix the almond and honey, two basic ingredients to obtain a sweet which is associated with Christmas. Cheesemaker, from the Latin formaticus, in the shape of, which gives formaci in Valencian, cheese, from the Latin caseus, which gives queso in Spanish, cheese. Wednesday, 9 o'clock in the morning, the milk is starting to curdle in the big tank. It is goat milk, and it was brought from nearby farms. This milk has all the health guarantees, although it hasn't gone through any previous artificial chemical process. It is pure milk. It is healthy milk. Of each liter of milk, 83% is water. The rest are the elements which will turn into cheese. Next to the bank, the master cheesemaker is about to initiate a ritual which will transform the white liquid into a solid substance. Now all the sheep milk is at 5 degrees and the spatulas don't stop stirring it. In 48 hours, it will be moved into another container at 35 degrees, in which it will acquire more density. In 4 hours, our cheesemaker will cut the rennet with a lyre and will slowly convert it into a large sea of ice. On it, the whey appears as a yellowish color. While it rests, the natural chemistry will act and it will acquire the suitable degree of acidity. The curd and the whey are removed separately. The raw material of the cheese is cut so that it can be placed in molds and take the circular characteristic shape. We will now salt the cheeses, and they will spend 2 days in the ventilation chamber. The cheese are now ready to start an amazing journey. The natural bacteria will act in order to convert those pieces into an explosion of different flavors, smells, and textures. In some cheeses, the mold will cover the whole surface. Others will turn into stones that can be eaten. Hundreds of cheeses are right now resting in darkness for a good period of time in order to awake all our senses in the near future. The government of Valencia, through the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Innovation and the City Council of Valencia, created a very special area. The craft center of the Valencian community is the adequate area for the association of craftsmen and women to dignify their work and to disseminate their activities, their experience and their legacy. Inside their premises, the visitors will discover and admire exclusively handmade products from the Valencian community.